Hi, all my friends. Uh, Welcome to my channel. Thank you for all my new subscribers, and hopefully we'll be doing some music a little bit later on in the week. I had anniversary yesterday. Just been busy, with things, and looking forward to getting on my guitar and playing a song or so, or two, and yeah. Working on some other stuff with my musical cohort, Brian, and also Terry, coming up with some ideas for me. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to doing some other musical things maybe later in the future. Yeah, anyway, we finished on page 165 of the Swedenborg sampler. Just looking up to see if there's Pompeo has been, it looks like he's going to be confirmed. So anyway, that's what's going on that politically. Other things are just, Giuliani's taking over discussions with Mueller. So we'll see what's going to go on there. About true Christianity, we finished on, in the sampler of Swedenborg sampler, on page 165, and I'll just start with that real quick, because we're almost done with this little taste of it, I think. Okay, so you remember he was talking about the new church. This was Sweden was a Lutheran state. Okay, so you spoke anything against the Lutheran doctrine, you were thrown in the brig, so to speak, and could be fined or put or jailed or what have you. And so he would often write under a pseudonym, and then other people would sell what he wrote, what he was experiencing. What the angels were sharing with him, what the Lord was sharing with him, and so forth. And so it was quite dangerous for him, actually. And so Swedenborg probably began his work on true Christianity in 1768 while in Amsterdam. In the spring of 1769, he learned that two good friends of his were in Sweden on trial for heresy for promoting his writings. So he went to support them. So you could not contradict the doctrine of the Lutheran, state church. And he expanded chapters on the Trinity related to the Ten Commandments and so forth, and that's what we were talking about yesterday. Other portions are fresh presentation of topics covered in other works, including freedom of choice, regeneration, rites of baptism, and communion. And there's an expert that was taken on goodwill as referred to charity, okay? That your faith is a genuine love of others is empty, while faith in God that is not expressed in actions is also not true faith. Okay, so you can't just say I believe and then do nothing in your life, do nothing good. That's an empty faith, and that's biblical as well. So of goodwill or loving neighbor or good actions, having addressed faith, and we now turn to goodwill because faith and goodwill are united. Just as truth and goodness are united. Truth and goodness are united like light and heat in springtime. I say this because spiritual light, which is the light that emanates from the sun in the spiritual world, is necessarily truth. Therefore, whatever the truth appears in that world, it shines with a brightness that depends on how pure truth is. The spiritual heat that emanates from the sun is essentially goodness. I state this because the same thing applies to goodwill, faith that applies to good and truth. Goodwill is all the forms of good we do for our neighbor combined. Faith is all the forms of truth that we think about God and our divine things combined. Okay? Since the truth that comes from faith is spiritual light and the goodness that comes from goodwill is spiritual heat, it follows that spiritual heat and light have properties similar to those of physical heat and light. Just as everything on the earth blossoms when heat and light are united on earth, so everything in the human mind blossoms when heat and light are united in it. There is a difference, however, on earth that the heat and light that causes blossomings are physical, but in human mind, the heat and light that causes blossoming are spiritual. Because the latter is a spiritual blossoming, it leads to wisdom and intelligence. Pardon me. In addition to a similarity, there is a correspondence between two forms of heat and light. Therefore, in the word, a human mind that contains goodwill united with faith, and faith united to goodwill, is compared to a garden. In fact, this is the meaning of the Garden of Eden, and I think I read this yesterday. Okay, so let me go on. Faith without goodwill is not a faith. Goodwill without faith is not goodwill. Neither of them is living unless it comes from the Lord. Also, the Lord, goodwill, and faith from a unity in the same way our life, our will, and our intellect form a unity. If we separate them, each one crumbles like a pearl that's crushed to powder. Okay, so in abiding truth and faith, goodwill cannot be separated to have a spiritual life and be saved. You can't separate them and think that you're saved. The truth of this is understandable to everyone, even people without refinement of costly education. Okay, so he goes on to explain how that works. Okay, and I think I read that yesterday. But just people who believe the right things but do not live good lives are also saved. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, and the opposite of that is true also. It's people cannot have good beliefs when they do not live good lives. What would these beliefs be except for a painted model of faith rather than living the image of it? So, having faith in the Lord, going out and doing what the Lord put you here for. Okay, and what does he say? He said, take care of the widow, take care of the children, take care of the needy, take care of the poor, take care of the downtrodden, take care, be loving to them, give them what they need, or what you think they may need, even if it's just a kind word, that will go a long way for somebody. Maybe they had just a crappy day, and you come along and just give them a great old big smile, a pat on the back, hey, how you doing, kind of thing, and all of a sudden their spirit is just lifted. So yeah, try it. A good life without beliefs then is like a clay in potter's hands that can be molded into forms that are only useful in the earthly kingdoms but not the spiritual kingdoms. So besides, there's an obvious contradiction in these statements. Basically, if you put them side by side, people are saved if they have beliefs but do not live good lives. People are saved if they live good lives but have no belief. You've got to have one or the other. You've got to have both, Can't just have one or the other. So what is it to live well? The aspects of goodwill, partly known, partly unknown these days. People know about what it is to live a good earthly life, but not what it is to live a good spiritual life. So, all right, so we are starting with these three categories. Remember, we were going to talk about heaven, the love for heaven, love of the world, love of ourselves. Love of heaven means love for the Lord and also love for our neighbor. Love for heaven would be called love for usefulness. I want to be useful, But because both love for the Lord and love of our neighbor have usefulness as their goal. Love for the world, it's not only love for wealth and possessions, but it's love for all things that the world provides, that pleases our physical senses. Beauty, pleases our eye. Harmony pleases our ear. Fragrances pleases our nose. Excellent food pleases our palate. Soft touches pleases our skin. It also includes beautiful clothes, spatial accommodations, social groups to belong to, all the pleasures that we get from these and many others things. Love for ourselves is not only love for respect, glory, fame, and status, but also love for seeking and getting high positions and becoming a good leader. Goodwill has something in common with each of these categories of love because goodwill is defined is a definition, a love for usefulness of all kinds. Goodwill wants to do what is good for our neighbor. The goodness is the same as usefulness. Each of the categories of love just mentioned have usefulness as their goal. Love for heaven has the goal of being useful in a spiritual way. Love for the world has the goal of being useful in earthly ways, which could also be called forms of civil service. Love for ourselves has the goal of being useful in a physical way, which could also be labeled benefits at home for ourselves and our loved ones. The next part is a discussion that will show the three categories of love which are in each of us from creation and by birth. When we are prioritized in the right way, they improve us, and when they are not prioritized in the right way, they damage us. At present, it is enough to mention that these three loves are prioritized in the right way when our love for heaven plays the part of the head, our love for the world, the part of the chest and abdomen, our love of ourself, the part of the lower legs and feet. As I've mentioned several times before, the human mind is divided into three regions. They form our highest region. We focus on God. From our second or middle region, we focus on the world. And from our third or lowest region, we focus on ourselves. Because our mind has the structure, it can be lifted up or lift itself up to focus on God and heaven. It can be spread out in every direction to focus on the world and its nature, and it can be lowered or downed or lowered itself down to focus on earth and hell. In these respects, physical sight emulates mental sight. Physical sight, too, can look up, around, and down. Okay? And the human mind is like a 3-story house with stairs that provide transitions between levels. These are angels from heaven living on the top floor, people in the world on the middle floor, the demons on the bottom floor. People for whom these three categories of love have been prioritized in the right way can go up or down whenever they want. When they go up to the top floor, they're like angels among the angels there. When they go down to the middle floor, they're like angelic people with the people there. When they go further down, they're like worldly people with the demons there. They give the demons instructions, confront them, and tame them. Okay, I'm going to stop there, I think. Yeah, because it's going to go into a little bit more of the three categories of love, okay, that are properly prioritized in us. They are also coordinated in such a way that the highest love, our love for heaven, is present in the second love, our love for the world, and through that in the third or lowest love, our love for ourselves. Okay, I'm just going to stop. All right, so I hope that you have a great Thursday, and again, tomorrow hopefully I'll have some more music, and leave me a comment, thumbs up, like, and subscribe only if you like it. And I love you guys all. Thanks again. Bye-bye.